This is 6U4C5L3. Compare and order integers. Here's Mr. Romanovich.
Oh, hello. We are going to compare and order integers, just like Ms. Benoit said, and by the end of this, you should be able to say, I can compare and order integers by their value, and be able to solve these two problems. Feel free to not write them now, because I will have them at the end of the video. Let's go. Whoa. First thing we're going to do is we're going to follow the order with which this was named. So we're going to compare first. And we're going to do some comparing that you remember how to do. So if I have the value of 7 and 10, you know which one's greater. We put the less than sign in it. So that actually indicates what the number on the left is. So 7 is less than 10. That's pretty easy. So that's like not something new. What we're going to be doing now, though, is we're going to be comparing them with integers. So we'll have numbers from the negative side of the number line now. And as you see, here's two examples of that where we have a negative number and a positive number, and a positive number and a negative number. And this should be pretty easy at this point, because if we're comparing a negative to a negative is always going to be smaller. Or if you're comparing, if you just switch it around and see if you're comparing a positive to a negative, the positive is always going to be bigger. So when you look at this and you see negative 3 and 5, I know 5 is already on the right side of 0. 3 is on the left side of 0. So that means negative 3 is less than 5. Likewise, here we have 6 and negative 1. 6 is on the right side of 0. Negative 1 is on the left side of 0, which means that 6 is definitely greater than 1, or negative 1. Now here's where we're at with our unit. Can we compare negative 4 and negative 5? All right, so the first way to do these comparisons is this, and we did that up here, is to check the signs. So number one, check the signs. If they're both positive, do what you know. You know 10 is larger than 7, write the right symbol. If one is positive and one is negative, you know the positive is larger. So we've checked the signs. Now the second thing here, though, what do we do if they're both negative? Well, since we're new to this, what we're going to do is we're going to prove it. And to prove it, what we have to do is we have to draw a number line and then graph those 2 points. And as soon as you graph those 2 points, then you'll be able to prove which one is larger than the other. So get your straight edge and draw your graph. Crack this thing open. Put my straight edge on my board. Draw my graph. Or number line. Here's my arrow going into infinity. There's my other arrow going off into infinity. And I'm going to draw my 0 because these two numbers are near 0. Then let's put our numbers in. I like to put a 1 on that side just to have a 1. And then here's 1, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5. And this came up in our discussions now. Let's plot those points, and then we can decide which one's larger. So here we have negative 4, so we plot negative 4 right there. Here's negative 5, we plot negative 5. And now as we look at it, what we know is the number line increases going to that way, to the right. So that means negative 4 is greater than negative 5. And we also know, and this came up in some of the discussions Tuesday, is that whichever number is closer to 0 is also larger. So negative 4 is closer to 0, so that means we put our greater than sign like that. Negative 4 is greater than negative 5. Okay, so that's the first half. Let's look at the second half now. Whoa. The second half is ordering. So now we're doing kind of greater than, less than with multiple numbers. So here I have a number set of 4 numbers that you're really familiar with. We have 1, 3, 0, and 2. And there's 2 ways that we need to be able to do this now. We need to be able to set them up from least to greatest, and in this number set you already know that that would be 0, 1, 2, 3. Or we need to be able to set it up as greatest to least. And greatest to least here would look like this. 3, 2, 1, 0. That's pretty easy. But now let's do a set of numbers that actually have negative numbers in it. When we're using negative numbers, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to prove it. And we've got to prove it with a number line. Let me get my number line creator because I knocked it over. I'm back. So let me get my number line on here. Use my straight edge. Draw my line. Oh, ruler, you let me down. Put my arrows on it. Because these numbers are near 0, I'm going to use 0 here. And then, before I put any points on, I'm going to draw out some of my numbers here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, negative 6, just for symmetrical purposes. Then let's dot our points. I have a negative 3, that's right here. I have a positive 5. I have a positive 1. And I have a negative 1. So the first question is, what are they least to greatest? And we know now that least to greatest goes from left to right. So as I look at them from left to right, I've got negative 3, negative 1, 1, and 5. Yoink. That's least to greatest. What about greatest to least? If I go greatest to least, then I've got to go from right to left. Go to the giant number first and then go the other way. And that would then be 5 is the greatest, then 1, then negative 1, then negative 3 is the least. Proved it with the number line, then took the number line and got the answers out of that. Here we go. Let's try and hit the target. Here's what we've got. Can you tell me which is greater or less than? Is negative 3 greater than negative 5, or is negative 3 less than negative 5? Can you prove that with a number line? And then here's a number set. Negative 9, 6, negative 3, and 0. Can you put those in order from greatest to least? Let me write it on here. I'm going to do it in shorthand. In bad 6th grade, Mr. Romanovich. Greatest to least. And can you put it on from least to greatest? And prove it. Prove it with a number line. If you have any questions, you can ask me. You can ask Mr. McKenzie. You can ask Mrs. King. You can ask Mrs. Benoit, who's across kitty corner from me, because she's very helpful and she loves math. Good luck.